Hello, lovely people. Hopefully, you are having a good afternoon. I apologize for the late start. I have been traveling and am now kind of settled for the time being in Sacramento at a fast food joint called Plant Power. And fortunately, they are a little bit of globe tards with the globe on their packaging, but changing the world of one burger at a time. They serve different they have like breakfasts and lunch slash dinner. But they do a lot of remakes of like, especially McDonald's type of stuff. They have something called a Big Zac, and it's like a Big Mac but plant based. And I really love this place. I love that there are so many different options that we can have as vegans in this day and age, and excited for what the future holds. Like even the garbage vegan food that usually we're given in these places, like because they have like Impossible or Beyond Burgers or whatever. Um, there's a better way that we can make these delicious foods with people making them that don't have our worst interest at heart. Currently, we have, the Bill Gates veganism. Okay. Bill Gates veganism, where, we have all of this chemical laden food and all this other stuff. And realistically, that's not even necessary. When I first started at the Shasta vegan community, well, I shouldn't say at, because I'm the one that founded the Shasta vegan community. I'm the one that started what was happening. But when I first started doing those full moon celebrations on Mount Shasta, I would go and get to Walmart and get like Morningstar Meat Lovers burgers and like store bought buns and store bought cheese and different, like, a lot of it was just buying from the store. And on a financial perspective, that's really expensive. But even more importantly, like if it was only a financial thing, I would be like, okay, whatever. I want to feed people in a vegan manner and show them this way. And the money isn't the focus. I make a lot of sacrifices, and like money isn't the problem. The problem really was that I was giving people these burgers and stuff that had chemicals in it that were made from things that I can't stand in front of you and justify me serving this to you when I'm trying to say I want to provide a healthy and god slash goddessly way of eating. I should make sure that the foods that I'm providing are in line with that and pure and not chemicals and homemade if possible. Um, you will find, especially when you get to the dessert table, you're going to find some store bought chips and other things like that. I keep them in the packages so that people can decide for themselves what's these ingredients. Do I want to eat them? Do I not? But for the most part, I try to keep stuff as minimal as possible and as pure as possible, organic and true to nature as possible for my events. Anyways, I'm excited for what the future can be, because there's not just vegan ways to make these things, but there are raw vegan ways that you can literally make burgers. There are pizza bites. There are desserts. There are so many different things that can be made in like even a raw vegan way that is the most pure for us, that has the most nutrients and life force energy and divineness in it. So I'm excited for what we can make in the future, and kind of it's already exciting to live in this time, because think about vegans, like even I've been vegan for almost 10 years. So vegans in like the 90s only had black bean burgers, and they had like tofutti cream cheese. I don't know about you, but when I first went vegan, tofutti cream cheese was like one of the only options. And you have to be willing to commit. You're not eating that because you think that it actually tastes like what you're trying to replicate. You're eating it because you want to try to replicate what you were eating before in a way that doesn't harm the animals. And so it's just really cool how far we've come. Like if you go into like the cream cheese, if there was a whole vegan supermarket and had everything that was vegan, like the different types of cream cheese, for instance, the different types of milk, the different types of cheese, everything is so expansive and amazing what we can make with plants, and exciting even just the times that we're in. But that being said, there's better days ahead. There's better ways that we can already do the stuff that they're doing now for us vegans, whether it has to do with like taking out preservatives and chemicals and even different farming practices. We're still in a non-vegan world where the farming practices are spraying pesticides, monocrop culture, killing all of the pests that come along to eat your stuff. People want to try to point to veganism and demonize veganism based on farming practices without taking the perspective that those farming practices are based on non-veganism to begin with, right? Those aren't monocrop culture, spraying the stuff with pesticides or chemicals. All these different things are not vegan in the heart of veganism, because we want to create an environment that is great for all of us. And even those little pesky bugs, there's different ways, even rodents, different animals, there are different ways that you can deter those animals. So for instance, if I have an apple orchard at home, and I love when the deer jump my fence and come and eat the apples. But if I didn't want them to eat those apples, for instance, first of all, I would go about making higher fences. Second of all, I would look up deterrent plants. They will literally, you plant these deterrent plants around your crop, and that smell or whatever, it literally deters the animals from eating it. And so you don't have to kill them. There should not be any need for killing animals or insects or anything to eat. And realistically, we need to get out of this survival mentality. And that's part of the problem, is this survival. It's like there's that those crops, those trees, there's a limited amount of stuff that produces, and I want that for me. And so we got to get out of that mentality and be like, if deer jump my fence and come and chomp on some apples, like, oh, I'm actually really, really excited to see them, and I'm happy to share with them. So we need to get into a more sharing mentality, but that's so hard when we're in this survival state that the powers that be ultimately want us in, so that we can't think clearly, we can't think coherently as a human species to understand how we're being divided and conquered, and how we can actually come together as a species to fight against our common enemy. I know I'm preaching to the choir with so many people, because they understand how we've been divided and conquered, and like the red and black ants, right? And that story that you can put them both in a jar and mix them up, and then they'll start fighting each other. And it's like, you're the one that set them into chaos. That's what the powers that be are constantly doing. Otherwise, if they just left us alone, the parasites, if they left us alone, we would all just be frolicking around, living in harmony and peace. I know at a fundamental level that human soul is not bad in general. And when you come into this world as a little baby, of course, there's going to be some times that you might have a little bit of problem with sharing, but the human baby in general is loving and kind. If you give it an apple and a rabbit, it's going to try to eat the apple. It's going to try to eat, if you give it some berries, I guess is maybe a little bit better, more realistic for a baby. They're not going to think of ways to kill that rabbit and dissect its body parts and eat it. It's going to default to this loving and kind and the way of Yah, which is just expansion of existence, consciousness, and bliss, which includes so many little minor details of just the way that we interact with people and the way that we view the world around us, and all of these little things that babies have intrinsically, the wonder that they have, the kindness and the love and the all of that stuff that's programmed out of us through the system. And we have to work against that and kind of relearn everything, including how to deal with our fellow brothers and sisters, whether they're in human skin, and they've even turned us against our own species. Do you think that there is an ongoing war between like white polar bears and black and brown polar bears, and or bears like in general? Like, is there an ongoing species war between these different types of the same creatures? No. Like, think about it logically, no, but they have used our human higher level of mental capacities, which includes judgment and all of these different factors against us, where we should use judgment in its proper arena to judge what is safe, what is right and wrong. We look out in the world today and we see a lot of wrong things that are being promoted as right. TED Talks that are normalizing pedophilia, parenting books that essentially tell you that you should encourage your child's gender dysmorphia, different things that are being promoted as right, and that discernment that is really important that we should hold on to. But it's being exploited, and then it's being used to turn us against each other. And there's different agendas to not only just on the male and female side. There's agendas that try to exploit us on both ends of the spectrum, whether it's like a compassionate type side or like an angry type thing. So the sexes are at war with themselves and each other, and then the species is at war with the different types of races, and then we're at war with the animal kingdom. It's like it's a never ending violence and war that, I mean, realistically, so often it starts with what we're eating and the things that we're believing. And if we're not willing to question those things and change within ourselves, it's going to be kind of hard to get the rest of things around us to change. But I do hold out for hope and longing that the spark of Yah within you and the spark of Yah within all of our brothers and sisters out here will eventually realize the truth and come to salvation. And it's just a matter of time for that. And so there's definitely hope in that. And no matter how dark the world around us gets, we can still put our faith in that, because I do believe that Megillah has inspired more hope in me for that eventual salvation. It's like, okay, well, each cycle that we're in, like the battle might be lost, and sometimes a world might be lost. We might fail in some situations, but in the long run, things are moving towards the betterment of all. And part of that has to do with the nod to love that justice gives. And you read the Megillah that, Jade gives the nod to Jana, and it's this justice understands the right and wrong, and it'll come into correct, but it also is tempered by that love. So you think about like wanting to throw that hammer down, and that's where so many mainstream Christians are, because the God that they serve is like, I'm going to throw the hammer down and I'm going to be very justice, and I'm going to, if you mess up in one lifetime, you're off to hell, right? All of these different things that it's an imbalance of justice that we see in our world today, but that needs to be tempered with love. And so kind of bringing ourselves back to that. And also, like, for me personally, I'm learning how to interact with my brothers and sisters and understand them and where they are and how demons infect and attack us in different ways. So maybe what bothers you, or what tempts you, or the darkness that calls to you is going to be different than me. And so I'm trying to have understanding in loving my brothers and sisters who may be called to other forms of darkness that I'm not, and trying to be loving in that, and also find ways to reach out to them to, bring them back in without having my own emotional reaction or distaste to the demons that they choose to entertain, so to speak. So, okay. Hello, everybody. I hope that you're doing well. I'm going to check the live chat. Hopefully, the music in the background isn't too noisy. Artist says, okay, got my coffee ready and garlic rice crackers. Nice. Are those pre-bought crackers, or did you make them yourself? I That just reminds me of the Seventh Day Adventist Church, and one of my friends, bless you if you're watching this, raves about the pastor's crackers, and I personally do not like them, but the pastor's wife makes these really awesome kale chips that have like a vegan cheese on them that are like dehydrated and really, really good. So yeah, it's kind of funny. It's so funny to like when you have especially vegan friends and they're like, "Hey, try this recipe; it's so good." And I'm a picky eater, and so I'm already kind of coming from the back foot, but I'm trying. And when they're like, "This is so good," and I'm like, I don't know. My approach is more to get to the crowd of people, and so I want to get as close to what I remember having as the standard American diet grower upper. I want to have those flavors and those things in a vegan version, and so I can show my family and show people that love the standard American diet junk food that they can eat without harming animals. And so a lot of times the raw vegan stuff and other health foods are like, oh, I don't even think that I want to try that. But it's kind of funny how our programming works against us, and like whatever our parents eat, we get used to eating those types of things. And for some people, other than or more than others, it might be hard to break out of those little spheres of food. But I'm really glad that I've gotten to try some really great, different ethnicities, race, cultures, foods lately, and it's been so good. The Big Zac, cool. All plant-based food, exactly. David D says, plant power, yum. What are you eating there? Well, right now I have some French fries and some of their vegan ranch, plant-based, 100% plant-based ranch. And their ranch is really, really good. The better ranch that I think is called Lolly's. Let me just double check. Lolly's vegan ranch. They sell this at Berryvale in Mount Shasta. Ooh, this is it. Okay. I'm not sure if this is going to go to everybody, but this is the vegan ranch that I really, really love. And they have like probiotics and stuff in it, and it has like this tangy nature to it that's really, really good. They have a few other different versions of dressings as well. So that being said, it's really cool because even with like cashews, agave, dill, garlic, salt. I'm not sure if I'm missing anything, but even with those basic things, you can literally make your own ranch dressing. And it's a cashew base, so that brings that creamy texture and the thickness to it. And then it's just a matter of literally dill, garlic, salt, maybe onion powder. I'm not really sure. But it's pretty cool. So can't post messages to some channels. Oh well. All right. Let's see what's going on in the chat today. Thanks for being here with me today. I apologize also for the late start. I've been traveling and I am, just taking it easy today. When did you switch over to making your own vegan food at your events? That's a good question. I don't exactly know the date. Probably pretty early on because, like I said, I was giving these people chemicals and stuff, and it got really expensive. And the burger recipe that I came upon came from one of the vegan prepackaged cheeses from BioLife. When you open their packages, on like the inside of the packaging, it actually used to. I don't know what they do these days. They used to actually have recipes that were listed out on there, and they have. So if you Google Violife barbecue burger. That's the recipe that I use. And I only sometimes use salt and pepper, but I mainly leave it down to the most pure ingredients that we can use. And then you can literally put them in the food dehydrator and freeze them. And then, like for meal prep people that want to have things ahead of time, pull out of the freezer, pop it in the oven or whatever, and go. It's really great for that. So I'm not really sure when I did switch over, but it's something that I never really expected to have people come up and say that I make the best food that they've ever had, and all of that. My goal is just to show them that they can eat without harming animals. And I know that vegan food is not perfect. I again understand the farming situation is based on non-ideal, non-vegan practices, and that needs to change. But veganism is about doing the least harm possible, and so we're just trying to picture like a room full of lasers, and you're trying to like get to the diamond at the end, and you're jumping over these lasers, and you're doing all these sorts of acrobatics to get there. That's what we're doing to try to acquire food, whereas a non-vegan is just like, screw that, I'm walking right through, and they just hit every laser possible, and they don't care at all about it. And so the more lasers that we can take into consideration, the better off we're going to be. The Nazarenes talk about basically eating very simply and eating from sources that ideally it would be from your Nazarene brothers and sisters. So maybe, Bob down the street grows some potatoes. Maybe Sally over here grows some broccoli and greens. Maybe you grow some corn. Like everyone kind of comes together, and it's like a homegrown natural type thing where what kind of energy is going into the food, whether that's a loving energy or it's a oppressed people that are angry. You think of like these people from other countries that may or may not be here illegally, and they may or may not get jobs that are, harvesting foods, and they may or may not be very unhappy and all these different factors. And so the Nazarenes try to avoid that as much as possible. But even if you're not there yet, like literally just trying to eat more plant-based and locally grown if you can is a really great step in the right direction. There's a lot that can get us down and make us feel like we're not doing enough, and that the mountain that we're facing is kind of insurmountable, but that's not the case. And every little baby step that we take in the right direction will help to counteract all of the big steps that we've taken in the wrong direction over thousands of years. We have to understand where we're coming from as well, and how we're trying to change all of that. This steady stream of consciousness in humanity that's going one way, we're like, okay, let's redirect that this way, so where we're loving animals and we're living in harmony with everything around us. Artist says in the 80s, there were not a lot of vegan/vegetarian food supermarkets. There was one store about 15 miles away, and you had to make your own burgers from scratch. Yeah. And even back then, the access to recipes were a lot more limited. So not only do we have access to go to stores and get so many different things, but we can literally Google or whatever, Pinterest, like whatever source you use, vegan something recipe, and get multiple different ways to make that exact thing. And so you know exactly what ingredients are going in it. You can custom make it to your exact fit. It's really exciting what we can make from plants. And I appreciate the food scientists that have come before me that have provided these recipes for us and have taken a lot of the heavy lifting and work and the guesswork out of it, and given us some really great things. So whether you're looking for, homemade substitute meats or cheeses or desserts or anything, literally at your fingertips is available in the world. So take advantage of that. So what says, hi, also 10. I'm guessing not in California, so few vegan options depending on locations too. That is definitely true. And even California, like Southern California, is pretty great with locations. Ooh, sorry. But Northern California, we basically have nothing. I'm at one of the few locations here in Sacramento, which is kind of considered Northern California, but I still live 3 hours north, and like I'm in Northern California up there. This is like California is so big, it's quite ridiculous. But you're right. If you are interested, there is a website slash app called Happy Cow, and people will put different listings, whether they are fully vegan or just have vegan options, on that website. So whenever you're visiting a town or whatever, you can look up that town and find places that have vegan options for you. I found that really, it's like one of my favorite apps. And one of the reasons I love traveling, like if I could just go on a little road trip across the United States and just, okay, here's a vegan restaurant. I'm just going to go from vegan restaurant to vegan restaurant. That will be so much fun. And there you can see the gluttony demon alive in me and my desires to travel because I want to go and just eat all the delicious foods. So, anyways, we all struggle with what we all struggle with, and we're all working on it. Dibity says that the new Oatly and Mayoko's cream cheese are so much better than Tofuti. Honestly, anything is better than Tofuti. I don't know if you ever had Tofuti, but that stuff was, oh man, I can't even really like describe it, but it was not an adequate substitute. And as I was eating my bagels and cream cheese, I was just like, I'm vegan for the animals, and I just need to I need to accept different tastes in the same texture that I'm already wanting, the same medium, but just a little bit of different taste. And but anyways, yeah, I totally agree. Anything with oat milk is by default, in my opinion, the way to go. Whether that's cheeses, milks, ice cream, anything, oat milk is the best vegan cheese or vegan milk substitute that we have. That being said, coconut milk is probably the most natural, right? Because it's already there. You just, well, kind of, anyways, coconut water slash milk. Same difference. Kind of not really. God gave us plants to solve every issue naturally. Exactly. So what says, but then are they going to have anything to eat if anyone fences them out? Well, I also personally don't believe with fencing the animals out. I love when the deer jump my fence and come and eat the apples in my orchard. I love sharing. And so I think that's the fundamental thing that we need to solve first is that we should be sharing and trying to live in harmony. Like there is plenty to go around. If there was fruit forests all the way around us, if I don't know how much you travel, but you can go down the highway and just see nothing for miles and miles and miles. Imagine if we had lush forests and food growing everywhere. There would not only be enough for us humans to all live with surplus, there would be enough for the animals as well. So my first suggestion would be to live in peace and harmony with the animals. But if you are still in this capitalistic situation, then build bigger fences. And the deer are just going to go out and eat grass and other green stuff. Like they're not going to maybe get the goods that the apples are. They're not going to have that yummy, tasty fruit, but they're still going to get what they need because they're eating in nature as well. Um, so yeah, good. You can check the PLU number on fruit. If the number on the fruit label starts with a number 9, it's fine, not sprayed. Interesting. Number 9 is GMO. 4 and 5 is sprayed with pesticides. I knew that there was something that had to do with those, but I've never actually purchased fruit with that knowledge in mind. And I do think that it's important, and the more locally homegrown that we can get it, the better that it is for us. The place that I used to kind of help out at had some homegrown grapes, and those were so good. I've never had better grapes than those grapes that had seeds in them and they had that crunch inside. Like the seeded grapes that you get at the store, from what I've experienced, have never had that crunch. I've never had a grape that you bite into it and the seed actually crunches, until I ate those fresh Mount Shasta ones, and they were so good. So the closer that we can get to Eden, the better that we're all off. That we're all gonna be off. Hello, old angry boss. How's it going? David, he says level 1 demons are pain suckers, feeding on human suffering. Definitely. And there's a bunch of different types of watchers. We've kind of talked before about this, or maybe I just made a post about it and didn't read it. But there are watchers that watch just to gain all of the wisdom that they, instead of putting their soul into one body and only getting the amount of knowledge and lessons that that one soul is going to get in a lifetime, they decide to sit on the sidelines and watch the Truman Show. And so they get to see all of the souls in the Truman Show and learn from them in a different way. Obviously, it's different than learning firsthand, but they get to learn differently. And then so one group of watchers just watches because they want the knowledge and stuff, and they are just soaking it all in. There are other watchers that watch to actually interfere, and that's where you have the good and the bad. The good ones that try to interfere are like your guardian angels, your prayer angels that literally watch your soul over its course of existence and pray for you in the appropriate manner. So they understand where you're at and they can pray for you in the right way. Then there's the bad ones that come in to interfere, to parasite off of us and to feed off of our pain. So they will, for instance, go between two different humans and whisper one thing in my ear and whisper one thing in your ear so that we will, butt heads, and all that suffering and pain that comes from that will happen. So there's definitely a different types of watchers, and it's interesting to kind of think about these different groups and all of that. But you're definitely right that there's these pain farmers that try to farm us for our loosh, right? Level 3 demons are pain engineers. They create entire multi-part systems that produce human pain for them to eat. Artist says the rice crackers are made but a local person by a local person, all natural. Oh, cool. That's really nice. David says our creator is not a demon that sends us to be tortured forever in hell, but a loving, forgiving father that hopes we repent. But if not, it's a timeout. Frozen in time. I've talked before about the deep sleep, and yeah, kind of what you're saying is exactly along those lines. It's kind of just a timeout, and our souls just are put in pause while the rest of the souls get to enjoy this reality and these heavenly realms with everything in the mother ovum being suspended. So it's really, yeah, I love that God and Goddess aren't evil dictators that curse us to hell over one lifetime of bad behavior. All right. Mike Mechanic says, hey, Inanna, stopping by to say hi. I'll listen for a few, but I got to work early on a movie tomorrow, so I got to sleep soon. Cool. Well, I hope the movie goes well and all of your cars run smoothly. Kyle says, hello, Inanna. What are your plans for Thanksgiving? I'm not gathering with meat eaters this year. Well, that's a good question. I actually don't have anything that's set in stone, although I'm not really sure. One of the things that just came up was that the next church service at the Mother Temple in Florence is going to be Thanksgiving based type potluck. They have the potluck type thing first, and then we gather for like a song circle, and then that's when we all go into a different room, and then the Zoom service goes on. So that's what everybody else sees. So I'm super excited about that. As far as any holiday meals, I'm thinking of planning a vegan gathering in Mount Shasta on the 20th of December so that we can kind of celebrate the new year, essentially the Nazarene New Year, but also these different holidays and kind of join together. I do not prefer to gather with flesh eaters. And in the past, I've really wanted to take the Liberation Pledge, which basically says that you will not eat with animal eaters and different stuff like that. But I'm also trying to take a more Nazarene approach these days and be like just more gentle and like understanding that all of these fallen people are hurt and they're lost and they don't know. And I just, yeah, so I'm just trying to focus on being more loving and kind. And so I'm not really sure where this Thanksgiving is going to lead me, but my intent is to be led into more loving places. Okay. Cool. Have you seen the new Neo Home Helper robots? They just announced. They're covered in padding. Interesting. Let me look at Neo Helper robot. I think I did hear something about these, that there was actually real humans behind them. Is that this this one? Humanoid robot requires a fully refundable $200 deposit, followed by a payment of $20,000 when it ships. Ooh wee. Okay. Oh my gosh, it stands at, guess what? It stands at 66 inches. Who would have guessed? Why didn't they just put the 0.6? 66.6. Why don't they just make it super obvious? Come on. And tips the scales at 66 pounds. Okay, Satan, thank you. It incorporates 4 mics, 3 speakers, and 2 fisheye cameras, functioning for up to 4 hours on a single charge. It can also lift 154 pounds and can carry objects weighing up to 55 pounds. That is really funny. Okay, yeah, here it goes. It looks all very impressive until you learn that for more complex tasks, Neo has to be operated remotely by an employee, with the robot mirroring the operator's movement as he or she peers into your home through their cameras. That's really funny. I would really like to know how, like, those tasks, how that actually would work. That they're just in this suit of some sort, I guess, and like there's some sort of virtual reality going on that they can actually move what's going on. But like, think of the actual human in their office building, like in this like suit in like this empty room. I don't know. It's just really, that's quite funny. But the fact that it has like real humans, I wonder if that's going to help some humans be more desensitized to it or go along with it because they're not fully giving over that control to AI. And so maybe that might also be one of the reasons that they are taking that approach instead of like, all right, here's the full AI right here, right out the door. Yeah, that's really funny. I'm gonna have to look more into that. Hey DJ, how's it going? DJ says, just wanted to send some love. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. And I appreciate the message that you and Mark sent to me in your recent stream, and that the blocking and stuff was not coming from you guys. And yeah, I thank you. Artist says that he's going to check out the stuff about Neo. I picked sweet chestnuts a couple of times in the forest. It goes great with rice and some tomato, garlic, and onions. Interesting. I have not had fresh chestnut before, but that sounds really, really good. Rice and tomatoes and garlic. Yum. Hey, Josh Mudge, how's it going? Are you going to be in Quartzsite this next weekend? Glad that you could join. Artist says, I at least try to make people aware to eat as healthy as possible. Definitely. It's a struggle. It really is, especially with like people trying to survive in this world and like make ends meet. The last thing that you want to do is being worrying about foraging your food and all of these other factors. And it's hard. Yeah, it's definitely hard to try to make less of a negative footprint in this world, because that's realistically what we're doing. We're taking and we're interacting with the Mother Earth in negative ways, that are leaving lasting impressions. And obviously she can recover from that, but there's got to be better ways that we can interact in so many different ways with the world around us that is not bringing harm to not just the animals but the world. Think about deforestation and like all of the ways that the plants are exploited for everything, and the plastic and the landfills and all of these different wasteful things that realistically are going to be solved with hemp in the future. I'm super excited about that, and super excited for the new chapters of the Megillah to be coming out within the next year. They are going to show some of these scrolls that include the scroll from the Order of the Best Friend of Christ, which is Yohanan, and the order that I recently got invited into. So I'm excited about that. It's going to be really cool to show people what hemp can do, and like even the cancer. Am I gonna get banned? Are you allowed to talk about cancer? How cannabis can literally cure cancer without getting banned? I don't know. Whatever. The ship is going down. Let's just add to it and sink it, right? Just kidding. But cannabis can literally cure cancer and fix all of the plastic issues and so many different things. And I'm just excited to see what's going to happen from there. So cool. Hello, drone pilot. Mark Sargent brought me here. Well, in a technical way, Mark Sargent brought me here too, because Mark Sargent brought me to Flat Earth, and I wouldn't be here without Mark. So cool. Same. Josh said, feed any deer today. Actually, unfortunately, I did not get to feed any deer today because it was really rainy. And when I did my live stream earlier, there was some deer that were coming close. Oh, wait. I retract everything I just said. There was a single deer before that I got to throw some nuts to. Nothing out of my hands or anything, but yesterday I got to feed them out of my hands, and there was this little girl that saw them gathering and ran over with some berries, and I got to interact with her, and she was just like so excited to get to feed a deer out of her hand, and she's like, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god, and like it's so nervous. And well, I don't agree with children saying, oh my God. It was just really cute to see her have that kind of interaction with a deer, and yeah, hopefully plant some seeds of love and compassion towards the animals through that. It's so cool to see kids. It's so crazy because on one hand, they're like the most loving towards these animals, and she runs up and she's like, and all of these cats, and like she goes into details about their names and all of this stuff about how she just loves them so much. But then the same little girl that loves animals is programmed to turn around and literally eat their flesh unknowingly, right? We don't understand that when we're kids, and there's videos online of kids being like, I don't want to eat animals, and like they freak out when they actually understand what they're doing. They're not okay with it because of that compassion and love of our creators that's just beaming through them, and that has to be broken over time. And so it was really cool just to see her, come over and feed the deer and all of that. And I wish that I, as a child, got to have interactions with animals like that. And yeah, I just love being vegan and all of that. That's opened up. Josh says, I will be there in spirit in courtside. Okay. Well, I don't know what my plans are right this moment, but I do have some live streams this weekend planned for everyone that are going to be a little bit of a surprise. So we'll see what all happens with that. David D says, have you heard the latest about 3-Eye Atlas PSYOP? Now it's speeding up, turning blue, and will get closest to Earth on December 19th. Interesting. I have read a little bit about the 3-1 Atlas PSYOP. I don't know why I said 19, but and what they were trying to say was kind of contradicting other things that they were saying as well. So there was conflicting information that I was coming across. But for me personally, I not only believe that things in the sky, like all of these Project Bluebeam stuff, is a PSYOP, but I really align with the Megillah, and I think that those prophecies are the most likely to be what the powers that be are planning for. And so they basically have this AI takeover, and they see us slowly becoming more transhuman over time. And at a certain time, when that timeline comes to the crossroads, essentially the White House is bombed, and that is when these seraphim artificials can emerge. I think that makes a lot more sense logically if you think about humans kind of being desensitized to these robotic beings that are coming down the line versus what we've been taught to think. We're kind of like expecting these either green aliens or the Pleiadians or whatever. Personally, my mentality has shifted, and I think that we're more potentially expecting what Adam and Eve experienced in the Garden of Eden. Was they got lured to the edge by these like metallic beings that had 666 on them, and they were robotic artificials rather than, these green weird mutant aliens that kind of piece. Like, I think that they're more likely going to promote this as some sort of upgraded creature rather than like a green alien, like monstrous type whatever. Obviously, I'm open to being wrong and whatever the truth is, but I do think that the Megillah prophecies are really on point with so much other things. They've already had prophecies come to pass, and I fully believe that the Megillah is the word of God and Goddess, and so that's where I'm at. And so I'm kind of trying to judge all of these other agendas and Project Bluebeam and everything else in the spectrum of these scriptures that really resonate at a fundamental level for me. And so if we can start to switch thinking of the Project Bluebeam from these like green aliens and Pleiadians to maybe even more AI, metallic, robotic, advanced beings that present themselves, because that's the eternal war that's been going on in countless worlds. This false eternal light or eternal life that comes from, upgrade to the cloud, put your consciousness up here, and true eternal life, which is already a gift that's been given to us all, no matter how high or low we are on the level of consciousness. That eternal spark of Yah that is within you and I, the soul essence of who we are, nothing can snuff that light out. That light is going to continue on, even if it gets very dark, the black pit. It's going to reemerge into the new world, into all of this new creation. And so understanding that spark within is divine and it lives on no matter what is like really cool. And it can also help us to counteract these agendas that are going on, where they're going to be like, aren't you afraid of dying? Aren't you afraid of meeting God? Are you afraid of all of these things? Like, no, I'm not actually. First of all, I'm good. I'm in right standing with God and Goddess, and my actions, like, yes, I've made mistakes, but I've been forgiven and I've moved on. I've chosen different ways. And so there's nothing to worry about, because I understand at a fundamental level that God and Goddess are the best and most loving parents that you could have. And even if you don't ask for forgiveness, they're already like wanting to forgive you and pull you back into their embrace, because they love you so much, and they just want to hug us and love us and all of that. So anyways, Drone says Dick Cheney died yesterday. Interesting. The UPS plane crash yesterday was flight number 2976, the same number of people who died on 9/11. Interesting. I'll have to look into that. I did not see anything about that, but I also don't watch the news. I personally don't believe any of these famous people die when they tell us they do. It's kind of like an actor exiting stage left, and they just go live in a different sphere of existence. But it'll be interesting to see kind of what symbology and underlying messages are linked to all of that. Thanks for bringing that up. David says that we see them as aliens or demons, but really they are in chips, souls enslaved in light. Yeah, and that can be kind of hard to understand these, um, how our consciousness can be uploaded to the cloud and all of that. But one thing that does kind of help is having so much media that literally shows us this truth in plain sight and shows us this technology being offered to humans, and how many times have those movies ended well. Like everyone that I have seen has ended with that soul realizing that they are trapped in some sort of hell or just something negative and trying to get out of it. And so I think that truth remains, and we should be really cautious about how we are interacting with AI and going towards the future. I do believe in, the eventual salvation of all beings, but I think that we need to be really careful because the battles can be lost. Whether the war is lost or not, the battle in this temporary, this little cycle can be lost, especially again to these AI things. And we see the younger culture, the younger generations that are being raised in like a godless way with more loose leaning morals and probably more proclivities toward these AI uploads, obviously, than the older generations. And so you can kind of see over time how they've led us down this path, and they've tried to program different generations for different things, and it'll just be interesting to see how it all ends. That being said, I'm gonna get off of here and go and get some food, and I will catch up with you tomorrow for the noontime peace contemplation and prayer, and then let you know what I have planned maybe for this weekend as far as lives go, so that you can see what I'm getting into. I hope that you have a wonderful evening. May God and the Goddess empower you and light your way. I will see you tomorrow.